Hi, hi, welcome back. And in this video that hopefully won't be too long, I'm going to discuss the physical signs of anxiety in the body because sometimes we get the physical signs and we don't recognize that it's our body's way of telling us that we're feeling anxious. And if we don't recognize it, we won't take the necessary action because, as we know, awareness is the key. So I hope you're feeling well. I hope you're feeling energized. It's always really good to start your day with some lovely deep breathing. You can sort of breathe in all sorts of love and warmth and friendship and light, and exhale any negativity or discordant thoughts. And that's a really nice way to start your day. What you will find is that in order to overcome anxiety, it takes very mindful steps on a daily basis and regular practice. So some people who don't know about my past history will think I'm probably the most happiest and smiley and positive person they've come across, and that's great. And people have said that to me. But it's really useful to know that that's because on a daily basis I do things that help to regulate me. So I do loads and loads of meditation, and at the end of this session I'll give you some quick little ideas for meditations yourself, things that you can try to imagine yourself. But the whole thing about the meditating and taking that time for myself is that it helps me to regulate and helps me to stay calm and helps me to feel relaxed. So, the physical effects of anxiety. So, I've got two things here. Normally, when I work with children, they have their own picture of a figure. And as we talk, I get the children to draw in on their figure the things that we are talking about. This is my one. I had one that I used in school, and unfortunately, since moving to a different country, I can't actually locate it. And it was all in coloured pencils, but I'd gone over it that many times. I think the pencil was actually coming through the paper. So when you or your body is in a heightened state of anxiety, it's because the amygdala has been activated, and the amygdala thinks you are in danger. Now, the only danger the amygdala understands is that you are either being chased by wild animals to be eaten, or you are in need of food and you're having to chase wild animals. So the human body and the brain, they are absolutely fascinating, but we need to know what it is that's going on. So when we are feeling anxious, stressed, worried, or afraid, what is happening is that our heart starts to beat. And the reason the heart is beating fast is because it's got a job to do. It's not just pumping oxygen, which it needs to do, it's also starting to pump adrenaline and cortisol through our system. Now, the adrenaline is needed to make our muscles really strong because we need strong arms and strong legs for running away from danger or to fight the danger. So the heart is pumping adrenaline and cortisol all down our arms, all down our core and down our legs. But it's not pumping into the fingers or the toes. Just bear that in mind. So the adrenaline and the cortisol is designed to make your muscles really, really strong. Now, years and years and thousands of years ago, these were supposed to be short-lived activations in the body. We would then run away from danger, or we would fight and we would kill our food, and then we would sit around a fire and we would eat it, and so everything would come back down. But obviously sometimes in our slightly chaotic and oversensitive and sensitized world, then we're not getting the downtime as much as we should. So when you have all this adrenaline pumping into your muscles, then one of the things that you might feel is a little bit shaky with it all. And oftentimes you find that as the altercation is over. So you might have an altercation with somebody on the stairs going up to school, their rucksack hits you in the face, and you say something and they turn around and they're not aware of it, so they say something very aggressive back to you, and that altercation can last 20, 30 seconds, but you might find that afterwards you're feeling a little bit shaky. And the reason for that is that in that very short space of time, the brain has realized you're in danger. It's pumped adrenaline and cortisol. It's prepared your muscles for fight or flight. And that excess of adrenaline is what is creating that sort of shakiness in your system. So that's one of the first things to be aware of. A, the heart beating fast, and the fact that it is adrenaline going and cortisol through your system, and that C, that can then lead to you feeling a little bit shaky. Okay? Now, the other thing that happens when you're feeling anxious, worried, stressed, afraid, is that because the heart is beating so much faster, you're getting so much more oxygen, and you might not be actually using that up because you're not running, you're not fighting, hopefully, because we don't fight in school. And that leads to you feeling a little bit dizzy, a little bit lightheaded. Now, another thing that happens is that because the amygdala has decided that you're in danger, it opens up your pupils dilate, and you get something a bit like tunnel vision. So you can't see the periphery, but you're getting this kind of vision where you're kind of heightened against danger. But that can lead to it being a little bit fuzzy. So you might be sitting in a spelling test, for example, and you might be thinking, gosh, I've got to keep blinking, my vision, it's not quite right. And actually what that is the body's trying to tell you that you're feeling a bit anxious. And if that's the case, then look to your breathing and look to your thinking. Now, the hands and feet are no longer part of that circulatory system. When you're in a heightened state of anxiety, fear, stress, then everything is just being concentrated between the arms, the legs, and the core. So that can lead to your fingers and your toes either feeling cold or feeling numb. So that is another way that the body warns you that you are actually feeling anxious, worried, stressed, or afraid. If you get numb fingers and toes, it does not just mean that you're anxious, worried, stressed, or afraid. You might be sitting on your foot awkwardly, and there might be a trapped nerve, and there could be all sorts of other reasons. But when you're worried, stressed, anxious, or afraid, it is one of the signs. Now, what happens is that the energy that it takes to put all of this adrenaline and cortisol into your arms and into your legs, it takes so much energy that the body has to shut down certain things. Now, the one thing that takes up so much energy in your body is your digestive system. So unfortunately, the digestive system is told, sorry, you can't work at this moment in time. You have to be switched off. Now, what that means is that any undigested food is going to be sitting around in your stomach until this period of time has been seen through. So when you have undigested food in your stomach, then there is a chance that it's going to start making you feel a little bit nauseous. And that's why when we are worried, stressed, anxious, or afraid, it is connected so much to feeling a bit sick and a bit nauseous. Now, all of that adrenaline and cortisol and all of that blood and all of that oxygen rushing through your system is what leads to what most of us term as butterflies in the stomach. And it's all of that sort of oxygen and blood pushing through your system in your stomach. And so sometimes you get that sort of flittery, jittery kind of feeling. And again, that's usually a sign that you're potentially worried, stressed, anxious, or afraid. So you've got your muscles that are shaking, you've got this extra adrenaline, you've got your digestive system shut off, you've got so much activity going on in everything that your body is regulating, that your body temperature goes up. So you will actually start to feel hot. So when you are worried, stressed, anxious, afraid, angry, you can also feel very hot and very sweaty. Now, there's a really good reason for this, because the amygdala is believing, remember, that you are being chased by some sort of wild animal and you will be eaten if the animal catches you. So when you are really, really hot, what does your body do? It uses sweat to go over and coat your skin to cool you down, right? Where does that sweat come from? The sweat comes from your stomach acid. So really what the amygdala is doing, what the body is doing, is coating you in something that's going to taste so yucky that you're not going to be eaten by the predator that you are trying to run away from. And that's really quite clever. I mean, obviously that doesn't happen that much in this day and age, so we're just getting hot and sweaty, but as a survival mechanism, I'm really impressed with that. So the stomach acid is used to prevent you from being eaten by making you taste horrible, but the undigested food is also making you feel a little bit sick. Now, if you are going to need to run fast and if you are going to need to fight, then you're going to need to be as light as you possibly can be, which means you've got to get rid of any excess weight as much as you can. So I don't know if you know this, but the way the body gets rid of excess weight fast is to get rid of any waste. And yes, you're right. That means that we need to wee or poo. And the reason that we start to feel a need to go to the toilet when we're feeling anxious, worried, stressed, and afraid, it isn't just to do with distraction and wanting to get out of the room. It's often down to the fact that your brain, your amygdala, is thinking you're going to have to run, so you need to be as light as possible. And so it triggers the body into needing to go to the toilet. So if you start to notice that you are frequently wanting to go and use a toilet, it is usually a sign that the situation you are in is making you feel a little bit anxious, and therefore it's important that you take the time to do the things that will help to make you feel a little bit better. So there's all sorts of things that happen, all sorts of physical effects that your body is using to let you know that you are feeling worried, stressed, anxious, or afraid. And if you are feeling those things, then as we have said, it's important to do the breathing. So you can do high five breathing, where breathing in and breathing out. You can use your breathing ball to remind you about nice, slow, deep breaths. If you're in a room, then there's always a window frame. So what you can do is you can, on the long side, you can breathe in. On the short side down, just hold your breath for a little bit, 3 seconds. On the long side at the bottom, breathe out. On the side going up, just hold your breath, 3 seconds, and you can just, trace with your eyes a door frame, a picture frame, the television screen. So you don't have to let people necessarily know that you're feeling worried, stressed, anxious, afraid to start with, if you feel that just by sitting and regulating your breathing by looking at the things around you and not necessarily having to get help at that time. But please, I urge you, if you're feeling those things and they're starting to get overwhelming, then please, please, please seek some help, because it's happened to everybody. Everyone at some point or other has experienced something, and there's always someone that's able to give you some advice. So if you remember, one of the things I love to do is to blow bubbles. And one of the things I like to do when I'm in a situation that I feel is going to make me feel a bit anxious is I imagine one of these bubbles, like here, I imagine one of them growing so big that I can kind of stand in it. So I imagine from the soles of my feet, this big bubble comes all the way around and covers me in a nice, big, clear bubble. And I can be seen by the person that I'm feeling a little bit intimidated by or worried by or anxious by, and they can see me, but I'm protected because this magic bubble is just helping to keep me safe. So that's something that I'd like to share with you, because that might be something that if you can imagine, if you can visualize that bubble just keeping you a little bit safe. Now, there's a couple of little things. I used to run a meditation class at school. It was just going to shout out to Zach in case you're there, because Zach came to the meditations right from the very beginning, and when he was in reception, I think he was, or year one. So he was my biggest fan with the meditation. So if he does happen to watch this, I'm thinking of you, Zach, and hope you're staying safe in this lockdown. But I've got a couple of little things that I'd like to suggest that you can do. So if imagining you're lying down on your bed, either just as the day starts or just as you're wanting to go off to sleep, there's a few things that you can do. So one is that I'd like you to imagine smiles. Okay, now the reason for this is that if you actually physically smile, you're going to be using parts of your face, and those parts of your face, the muscles in the smile, send a message to the brain that help to release lovely, lovely hormones. And oh, I can't think of the word now, but anyway, you end up with full smiling. If you smile, then you will change the way that you feel, because the chemical reactions will be different. So you can lie down on your bed and you can imagine that you're floating in a beautiful, beautiful, calm little river. Maybe you're on a nice big leaf raft, or maybe you're on like a straw raft, maybe you're on a boat, whatever. You're perfectly safe and you're just gently bobbing down this river. And if you have a thought that comes into your head, something that tries to disturb you, just imagine it just going on a leaf, and that leaf just trailing away down the river. Okay, so you're just you and just on this river. And then I want you to imagine that a smile floats up. And with each breath, I want you to smile yourself. So as you breathe in, I just want you to imagine this big smile comes along and it just washes up to you and makes you smile. And I want you to actually physically smile, because that will change how your body operates. So think to yourself, are my cheeks moving? Are my lips moving? Does my jaw move? What happens to my eyes? And just keep breathing and just keep smiling and just keep paying attention to that lovely feeling, and just relax. And you can do this just as you're going off to sleep for maybe 5-10 minutes, or you can do it as you're waking up. I mean, what a lovely way to start the day, feeling so good. Another thing that you can do is develop an attitude of gratitude. And this is where just before you go to sleep, and just, as you wake up in the morning, I would really like you to think of some things that you are grateful for. Now, we all have things that we're grateful for. I am so surprised every time I do this with children and with adults, how often people get very stuck and they think that what can they be grateful for, because maybe at the time that they've come to work with me, everything feels overwhelming and they don't feel that there's anything really working right for them. But if you've got eyes to see, if you've got ears to hear, if you've got a nose that can smell, if you've got a mouth that you can talk, they are things to be grateful for. Now, not everybody has all of that. So that's something to remind yourself. Not everybody can see, not everyone can hear. The fact that you can is something to be grateful for, because the more grateful you are, the more great and full your life becomes. So think about the things that you're grateful for. Think about the people in your life that you're grateful for. Think about the fact that you can put your feet on the ground and your feet can carry you to another place. That is something to be grateful for. So just keep that idea of things that you're grateful for, and 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes before going to bed, but it does change the way you feel and will make you feel much more relaxed. And the last one I'd like to share with you is I think about a lotus flower, because in my yoga practice we used to talk a lot about yoga flowers and the whole of the flowers opening up, but any kind of flower. So you lie down, you lie on your bed, you can lie on the floor, and you're just going to take a few breaths, slow breaths in and out. And then I want you to imagine your heart to be like a flower. And that flower, as you breathe in, is opening out. And each time you're breathing in, it's opening out that little bit more. And your heart, as this flower, is just going to attract this amazing light. And this light is going to beam down from above into your heart, and this beautiful, beautiful light, this beautiful healing light, is going to fill your flower and fill the petals and fill your heart, and then it's going to get so full that that light can just come out from the heart and travel all through the core of your body, all down your arms, all down your legs, until your whole body is full of this wonderful light. And when you feel that light being so positive and so healing and so lovely, then you can imagine that you can start to bring that light. It takes away negativity, negative cells, negative charges, negative thoughts. It just melts it all away. And then as you start to end that as a practice, you're going to bring that light all the way back. So back up through your legs, back up through your arms, bring it back into your heart. And just that flower is going to fold its leaves and petals and just keep that little bit of light ready for you at any time that you need it. A little bit like a little battery, a reserve of energy. So that little sort of opening up flower is another sort of meditation that's really nice to do. So I hope you've got some useful information there about the physical effects of anxiety, and I hope a little bit more about also things you can do to help generally make you feel so much better. So thank you for staying with me, and I look forward to your comments, and I hope you found it useful. Lots of love. Bye bye.